Yeah, yeah, I'm going live now. I'm like, hi everyone. Um, welcome to Women Identify some open source and tools earlier. So this is the part two of contributing. I'm sorry to start late, but that was very very hard. So actually here. So I was. Hey, Leva, can you hear me? If you can hear me, please say yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't
Network
quite
is
get
just so
you.
bad,
You're
and I
breaking.
can't really hear. Can you hear me, Leva? Hello. Can you hear me? I don't know if she can hear me, but I'll just quickly, yeah, she started sharing her screen already.
I can't hear you. I don't know if it's just me, but like you're breaking.
Okay, I think, John, I can hear you though.
All right, sorry. Hi everyone. Welcome to part two of our open source series. If you guys remember correctly, okay, hold on. I'm going to turn off my cam. I think it's kind of affecting the network because I can't even hear anything Cox is saying. So just do that. Um, okay. So in part one, we had like a brief intro to open source, an overview of what open source is basically, the importance of open source in today's landscape, why a lot of projects these days are open source, what, hold on, alright. Um, okay, I was saying in the last session we talked about the importance of open source, why a lot of software these days are open source, the advantage they have over like closed source ones, uh, the different types of open source contributions you can make. I think I debunked that idea that open source contributors are only developers and it's only code you can contribute to open source software. Looked at how you can contribute other things like documentation, translations, designs, bug reporting, and all. Uh, Also looked at benefits of contributing to open source and how to find the right projects for to contribute to. Also, how to navigate an open source community, why you should join one, how to find the community that suits you, and tips for effective participation. So, in this next session, we'll be looking at how to actually make an open source contribution. This is like the technical part, the process of contributing to an open source project, how to uh, use Git and GitHub, how to navigate all of that stuff, and make your contribution. Then, at the end of this session, we'll be having an announcement for an open source event that you can participate in. That's kind of be like a fun way to kickstart your open source journey. So, with that, uh, let's begin. Okay, so first of all, Normally, when you hear open source, of course, you think GitHub automatically. Whether you're a developer, whether you're contributing to documentation, whether it's translation, whether like you're helping out with designs and stuff, your mind goes to like GitHub as the platform for making your open source contribution. What then is GitHub? GitHub is a web-based platform that allows you to host Git repository. It's used for version control, collaboration. It allows developers and other contributors to store code, track changes across, the software, and collaborate, work together on that software at the same time. You can it basically allows multiple contributors, multiple teams to work on the same piece of software at the same time. So when I defined GitHub, right, I said it's basically a Git provider. What then is Git? Most times, right, when you say GitHub, I think everybody confuses it for like Git particularly. The difference is Git on its own. GitHub is a provider for Git. Git is a distributed version control system. What a version control system is a software that allows multiple developers or multiple people to work on the same project simultaneously without any change made to the code base. That's basically even if like multiple people are working on the same software at the same time, on let's say a particular file in a software at the same time, whatever change is made to the software at any point, it's able to store the state of the software at that particular period. So even if like you need to backtrack or a mistake is made and you need to check like the state of the software at a particular point in time or at a particular time when a change was made, you can easily retrieve the version of that software at a particular period. So the key features of Git include branching and merging. Basically allows developers to create their own version of a software and create branches to work on specific features in the software without affecting the code in the main code base. After you work on your software in your own branch, you can then merge this branch back to the main project. Git also maintains a complete history of all the changes made to the project. That is what allows you to roll back to previous versions of your software when you need. It allows everybody working on the software to have like a full copy of the code base, including like its entire history at any point in time. What then is version control, right? So I think from what I've talked about, we can easily like deduce that version control is a system that helps developers and basically people working on software or stuff to manage changes to different files in the software over time. There are actually different version control software, right? There's Mercurial, there, there are other ones, right? But excuse me, Git just happens to be the most popular. The same way for Git providers, GitHub happens to be the most popular because there's also GitLab and there's Bitbucket, which do more or less the same thing GitHub does, but GitHub is just the one that is most widely used. So before version control now, the way teams collaborated where uh, developers would email updated versions of their code to each other, and things like that will cause confusion over like what version of the code was the most recent. It also made it very easy to accidentally overwrite another person's work. The different teams could also store code on shared drives, like shared network drives or hard drives, whatever. But like without version control, as it did not exist by then, there's no way to track like the changes made or check the previous versions of whatever software they are working on. So basically, once you make a change, right, there's no way to go back and like see, okay, this is the change made and like this is the previous version of the software without the changes you just made. So it made it difficult to even resolve issues like things breaking when you add a new feature and all of that, right? So, and to implement this change now, merging was performed manually. So, developers had to manually compare different versions of files to integrate their changes. So, basically, compare like the old version of the file and like the new one they had, the one that they made the changes to, before you could actually see the change made. So, all of these previous methods to make errors, and that's why like Git, GitHub, Mercurial, basically Git and its providers, right, have become like very important for development teams these days. Like as a developer, there's no way you're not going to have like a GitHub account and all of that. There's no way you will not be familiar with Git. It's like a requirement, right? So, what then is the importance of GitHub in open source today? GitHub serves as a central hub for millions of open source projects. So when you come across a project, right, if you want to look for its code base, your mind automatically tells you to go to GitHub. Like, of course, there are other Git providers that this repository could be hosted on, but because GitHub is the most popular, right, your mind just tells you to go to it. So GitHub as a version control provider facilitates collaboration across distributed teams. It makes it easy to discover projects because, like I said, right, everybody hosts their project on GitHub. So if you're looking for a project, your mind first tells you to go straight to GitHub. Provides robust issue tracking and project management tools. So this is one of like the features. This is one of like the features that um, GitHub offers as a Git provider, right? The ability to create issues and track them. For example, now when you want to, let's say you there's a software you use and you want to fix a bug in it or implement a new feature, there's the issue tab that you can easily go to say, okay, this is this feature I want to implement, this is what it's going to look like, this is what it's going to do if it's implemented, all of that. Basically, a thorough description of what you want to do. And then the maintainer or whoever is in charge of the project repository can then look through your uh, suggested change, and then you can have like conversation on how, okay, this is how we are going to implement it. We should not implement this. If we do this, it's not going to be good for the software, or it's not necessarily an improvement, right? So GitHub serves as a tool for project management, also enables efficient code review through pull requests, because when you submit your suggested change and they review it, you can then also get feedback on the change you want to implement directly on GitHub. Also fosters community engagement via discussion and social features. So GitHub also has a discussions tab where you can raise issues, talk about, basically have discussions about like the project directly there on GitHub. It supports continuous integration and continuous development with GitHub Actions and integrations. So for tasks that are performed every time, like let's say tests now, integration tests, GitHub allows you to automate them such that for every time someone uh, for every time someone makes a pull request, right, it automatically runs whatever tests that you've defined and ensures, okay, that this your pull request is not going to break anything in code base, and it meets like the requirements we've put for people submitting pull requests. Also includes security features like dependency scanning. There's a bot that like a lot of repositories have on their a lot of organizations have in their code base. It's called Dependabot. So basically, it scans like all the dependencies in the code base for vulnerabilities. GitHub also provides metrics and insights on project activity. All of that we are going to see. We're going to look at all of that when we get to the part of making contribution. So if you remember in the previous If you remember in the previous workshop, I mentioned that like for before you can get started on your contribution, it's best to check like the activity and engagement on the project so that like you don't submit a pull request or like raise an issue and nobody responds to you or like they don't respond to you in time. So GitHub allows you to actually track like the activity going on a particular project. So like I mentioned before, right, it's an industry standard tool. It's required as a developer, required like as in any career or position where you're going to be interacting with code. You're most likely be required to have like a GitHub account. Okay, so for contributors, the key features you have to know about GitHub, basically the things you'll be performing for you to contribute are, first of all, you need to know how to fork and clone a repository. So, is it on my end or like is this stuff moving faster than I? Hold on.
Can you? Can you hear me? Can you stop trying to record it?
Okay, I hope you guys can see my screen
Yeah,
because
maybe stop
I'm
talking and share again.
okay.
So I can add you because I can't see your screen again.
I just realized it's not my screen just saying that it's yours actually.
So, so your own is not
Okay, I
really
think this
showing.
is where we are. I think this is where we stop. Okay, so first of all, you need to know how to fork and clone a repo. Forking is basically creating a copy of the code base on your own GitHub account, and then cloning is creating a local copy on your machine, creating and managing branches. So for every time you want to make a change, despite the fact that like you've created a copy of the software, a copy of the repo on your GitHub already, it's advisable, it's best practice actually, to create a new branch to work from rather than use like the main branch, because chances are sometimes you might want to even make like multiple changes, and if you're working with one branch and you've already made like changes to that branch and let's say it has not been merged, right, like you won't be able to work on that, you won't be able to like make changes on that repo again unless you like revert to the previous changes you've made. Also, to just cause like a lot of conflicts for you. So for each time you want to implement something or make a change, you would need to work from like a different branch. So committing and pushing changes to remote repository. That's basically after you've made the change on your machine locally, you have to push it to like the Git repository on your GitHub. Creating pull requests. Pull requests are like requests for the maintainer of the repo that you want to make changes for. It's basically like submitting a request for them to review and implement the change you're suggesting. Using issues for bug reports and feature requests. So like I mentioned before, right, when you have like a feature you want to implement or like a bug you like to resolve, you first create an issue, because sometimes, right, it might turn out that okay, whatever it is you want to do, let's say they're already working on it, or for some reason they don't want that thing to be implemented. So rather than just going straight ahead to work on it and then creating a pull request, it's best to first create an issue on it so that like the maintenance can actually notice someone is doing this, or can actually tell you or not whether it's something they want for their software. Configuring notifications. So for projects that you're actively contributing to, you can decide to watch them. That for every time someone creates like an issue or creates a pull request, or basically anytime like change is made to the repository, right? You can get like an email alert or like an SMS alert to your device. Then you also need to know how to use the GitHub web interface for quick edits. So uh, for small changes you want to make, maybe things like broken links, typos, or you want to restructure sentences. Basically, things that like changes that you don't need to view and like ensure that okay, this thing is appearing the way I want it to. You can actually use implement these changes directly from the GitHub interface without like cloning it directly to your machine. Then, on making your first contribution, these are basically the steps to make a contribution. After finding the project, you create a copy of the project, then create another copy directly on your machine, create a new branch that you'd like to work from, make your changes in your IDE or wherever you're making your changes from, commit your changes and push them to GitHub, then create a pull request, describe the changes you've made in the pull request so that like whoever is reviewing it actually knows what this pull request is doing before even reviewing it or going through the changes you've made.
Sorry
Then wait
for.
for review. If there's
Okay.
feedback on changes you need to make,
Hello.
hang on.
Yeah. So you are not the next slide is not showing. We are still on the previous slide. So I don't know.
Sorry,
I don't know if you are clicking on the wrong one you presented. Like, are you sure you know open? You didn't open two tab?
sorry, that tab kind of closed.
Okay. Okay.
Alright, I found it. You are asking something.
Yeah. So if you are not the what you are sharing your screen is
Can you hear me?
yeah, the slide you're currently talking about, it's not showing, like you're not in that current slide. So I don't know if you can go to the tab you opened and then go to the next slide.
I cannot hear you. I'm not sure what you're asking me.
Okay, I just
Can you hear me
typed.
now?
Yeah, I just typed. Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you. Just go to the
Okay,
next
okay.
slide. You are not in the current slide.
Oh no, don't worry. I'm in the right slide. I was just explaining.
Okay.
Uh, I was explaining basically what is in the slide. So after you're done making the requested changes, uh, you wait for it to get merged, or maybe if there are still more changes to be made, you can do that. So once it's merged, if it's maybe you make UI changes, right? You can actually see it on like the, let's say you make changes to like a website or something, you can actually see it in the hosted website, not the one you're on your machine. So once it's merged, right, it goes immediately to like the one that everybody sees. So next up, where okay, so I I'd actually like for us to go on to make the contribution before I talk about uh, these tips for making effective pull requests, because like I would like to like demonstrate it while we're making our pull request. So first of all, sorry, I'm not like going to be doing this from scratch because because my network is not very good, and while while I was doing this, like I noticed like it takes a lot of time to install the dependencies. So I don't want to do that and waste our time. But like I'll demonstrate what we are actually going to do. So I'm going.
Alright, so I wait for now. Can you guys hear me? Any question before we proceed to the practical side? Any question? We're about to proceed to the practical side. Okay, Isaac. Any question from you guys? Oh, thank you so much.
All right. Sorry about that. So uh, we're going to make a small contribution now. Essentially, what we are going to do is uh, I thought about like doing something with code, but I figured out that like whatever programming language I'm using might not be like popular with the audience, and so we're going to be making like a documentation contribution so that like it's something we can actually see and visualize like how the changes are going to be made, how it's going to be implemented, and all of that. So first off, let me show you what. Okay, let me show you where we're actually going to be making the changes.
You're still
Oh,
sharing your
sorry,
slide
I'm not
though.
sharing the screen.
Okay,
Hang
okay.
on, let me switch to
Alright,
window.
so let me remove this one and allow that one. Okay.
Um,
Alright. Like,
all right, can you see my screen?
I can see your screen, and I'm sure that people can see your screen.
All right. Um, just trying to switch between monitors so that like it's larger. All right, so here is where we are going to make. Hold on. All right. Mm, hold on.
Okay. I'm trying to increase the font.
Wait, give me 1 moment.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you guys see me?
All right. So,
Yeah.
if you notice, this is documentation site for Celestia. If you notice, right, this is navigation to go to the previous page. The previous page from here, you can see that like overview of it's the overview of okay, I'm sharing my screen. Hope you can see my screen.
Yeah, I can see your screen. Oh,
Please, can you see my screen?
yeah, I can see your screen.
You can just like okay, wonderful stuff. So if you notice, the previous page actually is overview of blob stream, not new SP1 blob stream and deployments. That's this page. So what we are going to do basically is to change this navigation to actually point to the previous page, which is this. So most times you can easily see this edit this page on GitHub button. If you click on it, it takes you to directly to the GitHub repository of the project. So we're here on Celestia's docs repository. I don't even know why everything is taking so long to load. So the first thing to do according to the steps is to fork the repository. However, I've already done that, so I can just go to my already existing fork. So if you notice, okay, let me sync my repository. It shows that like I'm 6 commits behind. So the change has been made to like the main repository and mine has fallen out of sync with it. So my version of the docs on GitHub is actually behind the main one. So just update that easily here. Alright, now that we're up to date, so this is the main branch. This is the branch you're not supposed to make changes from. So the first thing to do after forking, right, is to clone to your repository. But I've already done that, so I'll not be doing that again. However, okay, you can actually see. Okay, hold on, let me just share this window because I don't think you can see my terminal. I don't think you can see my terminal. Let me stop sharing and share my screen instead. Hopefully this works this time. Oh, I actually have to wait for Coxie to bring my screen back to the stage. But can you all see my screen? Can anybody see my screen? I actually have to wait for Coxie to bring the whoever that has my screen to stage. So I'm sorry about that and the delay and the terrible network. So I actually have to wait for her to come back so she can do that. Alright, I think she's back. I'm really sorry, guys. We are having like a lot of network issues, and since like this is practical, actually like have to be sharing my screen. Otherwise, like I don't think there's any way I can actually just be explaining it without like you're watching.
So I'm back. Sorry about that. I have a very unstable network. If you can hear me, please can you just type that you can hear me? And also,
All right, so
if I,
to clone that, I could just copy the URL and run git clone. But like I've already cloned it, so like that's why I choose this. So I'll just I'll just navigate to this directory and open it up in my VS Code.
sorry, if you can hear me. Can you guys hear me?
But uh, first of all,
If you can hear me.
it's always best to read
Hello?
like the README. So this is what I was talking about with the dependencies, right? This is to start the project basically, so that you can actually view it while you're making your changes. So uh, the instructions for this are actually pretty short. Just how to build the site, function guidelines, the fork and clone, always create your new branch, commit your changes to your branch with a clear and concise commit message, and then push your changes to your fork and create a pull request to the main branch. Then this is basically just a description of the directory structure. You can see here, it's basically like this stuff: the learn, running notes, developers, community. So you can actually see how the directory structure is in the repo. So next thing to do is to create a branch. So if you look, these are like previous changes I've made, and like these are different branches I've created for those changes. What to do now is to create a new branch, and I like to name my branches based on like the I want to make. So since we are fixing like a navigation issue, I can just name it fix navigation and create a new branch for it. You can also create a new branch directly from a terminal. For like, I think this looks better for like teaching situation. I can also run git pull so that I can get the changes I just made on this remote repository to my local copy. Because if you remember at the beginning of this, all right. Uh, if you remember at the beginning, we had to sync uh, my main branch to the main branch of the repo we are making changes to pull those changes to my local copy. So you can easily do that by running git pull and to fetch the changes here. You can see the new changes. I created a new branch which was fixed navigation, and then I pulled in some of the changes uh, the main repo we are making changes to into my own. So those are like the two changes it's pulled. So if I go over here to my IDE, I can easily change to this new branch now that I want to be making my changes to. So first of all, the file we are making changes to, if you can see the title here, it says integrate with blockstream contract. So I'll just look for that here. I'm already here. So this is the same page. This is in Markdown. This is the it is in Markdown. So this is where the previous link to go to is, and if you remember correctly, it's supposed to be pointing to this overview of blockstream page. It's pointing to this one here, which is clearly not the previous page. So we'll just change the text to overview of blockstream. I think that's what it's called. Yes, and then change the link. It should be this blockstream.md just to confirm. Alright, that's it. So to view those changes we've made now, we can easily run this project so that we can view it locally on our machine. Uh, so this is the local copy of our project. And we'll just navigate to that page to check if the change we made has actually been implemented. So if you notice, this is the third one that is accessible to everyone. And if you notice on it, it's clearly still change the change we need to make, while on our own implemented the change. So okay, so clearly this was the wrong one. So let me check. Oh, sorry. Which- Right. So now it goes to the right, which is this previous one. So now I actually checked, and we can see that uh, it works correctly. The next thing to do is to commit our changes. So uh, you can also view this here. You can actually commit from here, right? But I'm more comfortable with using the commands, and I don't really use this one, so we'll just use the commands directly. Alright, so let's see. Fix navigation to previous page. So the commit message basically describes whatever it is you did, whatever change it is you did. Summarize it like into like a short message. Next thing to do is to push. Normally you can like specify the uh, branch you're pushing to, and like the particular repo you're pushing to. But since I've already like set all of that, I can just use it directly. So after a while, if we go to my page on GitHub, you can actually see the change I've just made reflect, and it suggests pull request. Alright, so don't think we have to anything to do. So you can see that this branch we created has a recent push 4 seconds ago. So to create a pull request, you can just easily click here to compare and pull request. So this the base branch. Okay. is the branch we are making our changes. We are hoping that our changes get merged into, while the branch we are comparing with is the one we made our changes to. So back to these tips for effectively making pull requests. The first one is to read the project's contribution guidelines. So when we read the README, sometimes they have like a contribution guide separate from the README. But when we read the README, you could see like 4 easy steps to make contribution. But you actually have to read it for each project because it differs, right? Like sometime early this year, you actually had to specify the kind of change you're making, whether it's a fix, it's a documentation change. For some repos, like I think Avalanche Docs, you include your name with the commit message. So basically, each project has its own set of contribution guidelines. For some of them, you have to run like a formatting check to ensure that like it's formatted. Like that's in the style that has more to do with style guide, but it's still part of like the contribution guidelines. Choose the right base branch. So if we head back here, you can actually see that like there are tons of there are tons of branches that you actually uh, make a pull request against, but the one we want to make a pull request against the main branch, right? So that like our changes can get reflected directly on the website. Sorry. Keep pull requests small and focused. So sometimes you might have like multiple things you want to do. Let's say from this navigation stuff we wanted to fix, you might maybe want to write a guide on how to do something, a tutorial to merge into the documentation, or you might want to add like a new feature or fix a UI bug. Basically, like tons of different things, right? So it's best to make like one PR per issue because first of all, that helps the maintainer like know how to review your stuff. It reduces like confusion for them first of all. Secondly, it also like reduces like merge conflicts even for you because some of these different issues, right, might exist like in the same file. So it helps to like reduce merge conflicts for you. Write clear and descriptive pull request titles. So this is the title. So we can easily say, what's the name of this page? We can easily say, okay, fix navigation to previous page on this page, right? So that like it's exact, the maintainer knows like exactly what we did. But since this is like a small fix that we did, right, it's not really necessary. If you check the changes, when we create the pull request, okay, if you check the changes, it's practically just 2 lines. So there's not really much to review here. But like in cases where you do a lot and your change actually changes a lot, it's best to add like a very, very distinct title that can help them know exactly what they're looking for. Although like they can see it here, but it's just best to do that. Provide a detailed description of your changes. So this is basically a guide on writing your description, right? Each uh, repo comes with its own. Here it says, please make sure you reviewed our contributors guide before submitting your first PR, which we did. Please provide an explanation of the PR, including the appropriate context, background, goal, and rationale. If there's an issue with please provide the too long didn't read and link the issue. So if your pull request resolves an issue, let's look at the issues in this place first of all. If your pull request resolves an issue, right, you can easily link it so that like okay, this is like 1705. Let's say this is the issue resolved. You could easily do that here, like say something like fixes 1705, right? And like just like that in the preview, it links the particular issue. to this pull request. But that's not what we did anyway, so we just clear that. Ensure your code follows the project style guide. That's what I meant. Uh, there some projects come with style guides, how to format, language, a lot of stuff like how to format language, sometimes even like spelling formats and all. So ensure like if there's a style guide provided by the project, right, that you follow it. This applies to code, uh, documentation, all of that. Run tests locally before submitting. In our case, right, that was us um, viewing it locally and ensuring that the change we made is actually working. And I think I even made a mistake at first. So if I had just created this pull request, like it would have defeated the point because it's the link wouldn't have still been working. However, okay, be responsive to feedbacks and comments. So when you're if there are changes to be made, right, you see that in the comments. So sometimes, right, there's this urge to okay, I've seen your comment, I've seen your feedback. I'll just go right and implement it, right. It's always okay, this person has taken time to review your this thing and has dropped a message. You can just drop a oh thank you for your review. I'll implement the changes. But yeah, you should definitely always respond to the feedbacks and like comments on your pull request. Promptly if changes are requested. Changes are made. It's best to do it like as quickly as possible. Be patient and polite in all interactions. Thank you for their time and feedback because honestly, it's really not easy to review people's work. They learn from the review process for future contributions. So for this now, you can just say uh, fixed navigation to the previous page if it is present tense. I don't even know if this is my network. I'm not even sure if this is my network at this point. Okay, so we didn't do much, right? You just type the plain text. So ahead and create the pull request. My network is hear me. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Well, I don't know if you guys can hear me.
Can you hear me? Thank
Yeah,
God.
yeah.
Okay, so
Wow,
it's
you
actually done that. So there's a bot that reviews code here. You can see some of the tests that is set in the repo to for each time a pull request is submitted. So this one isn't actually going to pass because from what I heard last time, it only passes when like it's the organization, a member of the organization that makes a pull request. So it's actually going to fail. So if you go back to pull request, I think I have like a lot of pending pull requests here. But yeah, if you go back to pull request, you can actually see mine, which is the most recent one at the top of the tab. So next thing to do, right, is to wait for it to get merged or review. Don't think there's going to be any review. It's basic. It's the basic stuff we just did. So you can actually see the files changed, the change, the difference. This is the old one, this is the new one. Basically, this is all we did. So with this, right, we've made a simple uh, contribution. So when it's actually merged, you'll be able to see that this one here actually looks the same way with this one. The changes I've made here will actually reflect on the main website. Alright, so we're done with that. So tips for engaging the community and staying updated. I think I covered this the last time, but it doesn't hurt to do it again. So introduce
Yes,
yourself
you can
in the
speak is
community
frozen,
channel.
but you
I
cannot really hear
see
me
we're
right now.
actually out of time, so I'll just like run through this. Uh, introduce yourself in the community channels, listen and observe the kind of discussions that are had there, ask questions clearly and provide context. Actually, this is very important because, like, the clearer you are with your question, the higher chance you have of someone answering you. Because is it still frozen? Wait, is it still frozen?
Guys, if you can hear me, can you guys see the screen from your end? If you can,
I'm not sure what's going on with
please.
my network.
If you can't, then just type say something because for my end it's currently frozen.
Is it frozen? Is it still frozen? Okay, let me stop here.
She's having issues hearing me. She can see me type.
Network is so terrible this night, God. Is it better now? Ah, wonderful. Okay, so on asking questions and providing context, right? Like when you ask questions, be sure to be as specific as possible because that way you actually get help easy. Maybe someone that encounters the same issue and they don't need to start asking you, okay, uh, they don't need to start like asking you like more questions to clarify on like
Thank you, God. Um, she's gone. So she was talking about. Let me see I message that we can't. Yeah, again. We can't hear you.
people are helping you. So it totally makes sense to do that to other newcomers. Share your insights, collaborate on larger tasks. So some issues, right, might seem like a lot. Maybe you might have an idea on how to start, but you're not really sure how to proceed with it. You can actually ask for help and like ask people to actually work on them with you. You really do not have to do it alone, especially if it's something that is like a large overhaul or something. You can actually ask other people to collaborate with you on resolving that issue, especially if it's like a new feature you want to implement. Keep conversations focused and on topic. I believe that is self-explanatory. Attend community events online or in person. That is like a way to stand out and within the community, meet people, network, and all of that. It's easy to do that at events. Contribute to documentation improvements. Report bugs clearly and constructively. So I don't think I covered creating an issue, which I should have. So when you're creating an issue for, let's say, a bug you saw on like, well, like a feature you want to implement, right? Otherwise, it's just like you end up having like a very, very slow network. It's a network right now. Can you hear me?
Hey everyone. Today has been so bad. The network is just so bad, not only from my end, but also from our guest end as well. I don't think she's here with me, but if anybody can hear me, can you signify by saying something so I can know I can be heard? Anybody, if you can hear me, just okay. I think she's gone. Alright. So our network is very, very bad, but there's something that we wanted to talk about today. that we want to make an announcement, but internet was very bad. Let me just share my screen and just make the announcements on our behalf. So, trying to share my screen. Just hold on. I really apologize for everything. Like, welcome to Nigeria, where the network system is just bad. Because we had a whole lot of things in store for you guys today, a whole lot. But I guess sometimes things doesn't really go as planned. Okay, so we wanted to talk to you guys about like an upcoming open source festival. It's actually called um Oktoberfest. Yeah, no, Oktoberfest. Sorry, if I'm pronouncing this correctly. Yeah, so it happens once in a year. It happens once in a year, and when it happens, everybody just come together. Let me type it. I will share the link as well. Everybody try just come together and then just like contribute to different kind of open source for Web 2, Web 3 devs and every other thing. Oh, she's back now.
I'm so sorry. I'm having like network issues right now. I don't even know why. Just
Hey,
said
can
let
you
me
hear
switch
me?
to another network now. Yeah, can you hear me?
Oh, I don't think you can hear me.
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay. But if you can hear me, let's quickly just talk about the announcement.
Okay. Wait, can you all hear me? I hope you guys can hear me. So Oktoberfest is an annual open
Okay,
source
can you hear me?
event that occurs in October for the entire month. If you know DigitalOcean, it's organized
Okay.
by them and they usually have
So
like a
once
theme
again,
song.
I apologize for everything. So if you can hear me, just make the announcement and let's just go. Able to just I don't know go. Sorry for
I'm
everything,
not even
guys.
sure if
We
you
had a
guys
lot in
can
store
hear me.
today, but the network system was just very bad. But can you guys hear her, or you can just hear me, so I can know which of us is going to make the mistake with the announcement? Who can you hear? If you can hear me or if you can hear her, please just type it and let me know. If you cannot hear anybody, just type as well.
Please let me know if you can hear me, if I've just been talking to myself.
Struggling so long.
Ah,
Hold on.
hmm. Okay, you can hear me now, right? Ah, thank God. Ah, network is so terrible this night. God.
Okay. Since you're the only one that can hear me, because since you guys can hear me, thank you. But I don't know. We can hear each other actually. You guys can hear me. Let me just make this announcement and then just go with it because I can't hear anybody and it's crazy. But thank God that you guys can hear me. So we want to talk about Oktoberfest. That is more of like an annual open source event that takes place every October, and it's run for the whole month, like um from like October 1st to the last day of October. It's crazy that I can't do anything. It's crazy. But
All right. Okay. So I'll just pick up from here. So basically, Oktoberfest, like she has already mentioned, is an annual open source event that takes place every October. It's organized by Digital Ocean, and they usually have like a couple of sponsors every year. So the point of Oktoberfest is to encourage people to contribute to open source projects and also celebrate open source software, already existing open source software. So during this period, it starts like at the beginning on the 1st of October and runs till 31st. But however, before then, you can actually register. So during this period, right, you make 4 contributions to projects that have the Oktoberfest topic on them. And if your 4 contributions are merged, these 4 contributions don't have to be to the same project, or they can be to like different projects. So if your 4 contributions are merged, you have like a badge for your GitHub profile that like says that you participated in this year's Oktoberfest. You get mailed a limited edition T-shirt with stickers and all of that, but or have the option of getting a tree planted in your name. So for last year, right, they didn't do the limited edition T-shirts. Rather, they had like holo pins, which are kind of like digital badges. So I'm not even sure of. I've not yet confirmed the rewards for this year, but yeah, there are usually rewards for it. And then, of course, you get that sense of accomplishment and contribution to open source. So, why you should contribute during Hacktoberfest is that this period there are lots of issues tagged Hacktoberfest and a lot of good first issues for beginners, because again, this is like a time that a lot of beginners make their first open source contribution. A lot of projects are active this period because, of course, they are expecting contributors. So during this time, right, you can be sure that okay, if you make your contribution this time, there are people to attend to you, to review your stuff, give you feedback, merge your pull request, because like it's a very, very, very busy period in the open source space during October. So yeah, uh the steps to participate are, like I said, sign up on the Oktoberfest website. Uh, Please, okay, I was going to say to put the website, but thank you for doing that already. Sign up on the Oktoberfest website. If you go to GitHub issues, don't know if I'm sharing. Uh, okay, so let me just wrap this up, right? I was going to show you like how to find the issues tagged Oktoberfest, but if you go to the GitHub page and in the issues tab, if you search Oktoberfest, you can actually see some issues regardless of organization, regardless of niche, and all of that that qualify for Oktoberfest. So once you register by connecting your GitHub to the Oktoberfest. So once you register, for every pull request that you make that gets merged that is under the Oktoberfest topic, it counts for you and it reflects on the Oktoberfest website. So once you've completed 4, you qualify for the rewards. So that's basically it about Oktoberfest. And again, it's a fun way to start your open source journey because, again, during this time, it's very busy, it's very eventful, and like there are lots of contributors. Community channels get like a lot of new contributors and a lot of new members because it's very easy to find projects to contribute to during the month of October every year. So, with that said, I hope you actually make your first contribution or your first 4 contributions rather during the month of October. If you need any help, my Twitter is always open. I think it was linked in the Twitter post. You can always DM me for help if you need help with your contributions or if you have any further questions that you don't want to ask here. My DMs are always open. Thank you. Although if there are questions here too, you can also ask your questions here and I can answer them for you. Any questions?
So thank you so much for being here. And for people that stayed to the end, you guys are the real OGs. Like I knew it was very, very frustrating, but you guys stayed to the end.
Thank
Like I wish I
you
could just give
so
you the ring
much,
and just give
regardless of the
everybody.
network, for staying.
And so you guys stay to the end. It's so amazing. It means that you guys are really the faithful followers of Men Defy. Like, thank you so much. And I'm going to share more information about this. I will just tag everything. I also tag her as well, so that in case you have any issues or anything, probably how to get started or anything, and also how to contribute for this October Fest, because I'm going to contribute as well. So let's all contribute now and just get to know people and just like build a solid portfolio. So once more, I'm very, very, very sorry about this. No, this is Nigeria. Things happen, and this is it. Very, very sorry about it. So thank you so much for being here. And so I guess thank you so, so much for being here. I really appreciate it. For the people here, the 5 people, you guys are amazing. You guys are amazing. So I've come to the end of this workshop. It's like a whole lot. And we'll see you again next month, same time next month. And I hope to just like bring a nice topic that we all can just talk about, just like, get more knowledge and stuff like that. So hopefully, I will think about something nice and we can just talk about it. So, bye, everybody. Bye. Network is good now. Good. Bye. Bye,
Bye
everybody.
everyone.